The people of Undermere visit Strange Horticulture with many requests. Some seek remedies for their health, or to help them sleep. Some need the perfect gift to make a new friend. Some simply wish to scratch the ears of the store's cat, Hellebore. All are searching for something. As for me, I spend my days collecting and identifying the unusual plants of this land. Winterbore to repel insects, Pavilium to open any lock, Jacob's Worth to find what is lost, Daisy Dock to grant courage, Long Veracund to lift a curse. Most who visit my shop have small and simple needs, though sometimes they can be mischievous, even sinister. Occasionally their stories intertwine, offering me a glimpse at larger events. I aim to serve them all with wisdom and discretion. But even I can be swept into the deeper and darker mysteries of Undermere. There are whispers that the leader of the local witches' coven has died under mysterious circumstances. Circumstances that happen to require the expertise of a horticulturist. From hypnotic hallucinogens to powerful poisons, I can use my plants to influence the mysteries around me. For good or for ill.
Hello there, we're Bad Viking. My name's John.
I'm Rob. Hi.
Yeah, so together we're two brothers. We're based in the UK and we made this game called Strange Horticulture. It's been out since January and yeah, we thought we'd just introduce the game and then we are going to answer a few questions that have been put to us by various players and people in a sort of ask me anything sort of thing. But yes, so Strange Horticulture, it's... Well, Rob, what is this? What is this game?
It's like Plant Detective, right? You own a shop called Strange Horticulture, and the weird citizens of Undermere come to you with their problems that often require plant-based solutions, and you have a collection of weird and wonderful occulty plants that sort of do like spell type stuff.
Yeah, mysterious and magical plants. Like, you know, coming up with the idea for Strange Horticulture, we really like this idea that in a sort of like the old world, like plants had these mysterious and powerful properties and uses. You know, they were used in witchcraft, they were used for medicine.
Yeah, well, I mean, they still are, aren't they?
Still are to some extent, but we took that idea and sort of like really ran with it and came up with some really cool ideas for plants and things. So yeah, like as Rob was saying, it's a plant-tastic game. We best describe it as a sort of Papers, Please sort of style game in which people come to you in your shop and it's all set on one screen. With sort of Sherlock Holmesian vibes and sort of inspired by our love of board games and various other things like that. So yeah, I guess we should get into the questions. We don't know what we're going to be asked. We've just put them in a plant pot and we're going to pick them out and see what people want to know about.
Right,
so take us away.
I'll crack us off then. Yeah, first question. Coming right out of the plant pot. Will we ever get more plants? My favorite part of this game was sitting back and looking at how many I had acquired and labeled. I would like to see some more of that in the future.
Well, I mean, more plants requires more sort of like, I guess, a DLC or more or a sequel or another game or something to add to the game, which is something we have definitely talked about at length, and we haven't decided exactly what we're going to do next. So
we know that we want to do something at least in the same universe, because we like this kind of Undermere world that we've created, and we want to go back to it. And Obviously, I think that plants will play some role in that. Whether it's, it's probably not going to be a straight sequel, but a sort of spin-off type game, let's not rule out adding more plants to the game. In some sort of DLC.
If people want to just sort of identify plants, sort of as you get towards the end of the game, there's a pool of plants that you won't have identified yet, and then we introduced an epilogue where you can identify those remaining plants, and we could always add more in potentially if we wanted to. We'd have to write descriptions and things, but in creating the game, I actually drew a lot more plants than are actually in the game as it stands right now. So I think there's plenty of plants in reserve that we could potentially use.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, let's crack on with the next question, I think. But thanks for your question, that was awesome. Hello, any plans for Mac support one day? I guess I'll answer that one, because I'm the coder and that would fall to me to do a Mac version. No concrete plans, but it's definitely on our radar. The main barrier for us doing that is neither of us have a Mac, so it does make it a little bit harder.
We used to have Macs, but haven't had a working Mac for quite some time, and I'm not prepared to shell out for a new one.
I've got an ancient old laptop, and I did actually try and build out a Mac version of the game and run it on that, but it did not run. So there would be an investment need to be made there if we were going to go down that route, and I'm definitely not ruling it out. I would like to. Obviously, there are people that want a Mac version, so we'd like to get it out to you. It's just, it's a little bit more complicated than just pushing a button, unfortunately. But I hope that we'll get there one day. Next question.
Yeah.
What was the most surprising way you've seen people order their plants? Are there other things that surprised you watching streams and YouTube content of the game?
Oh, you probably know more about this than me, Rob, because I honestly, this is going to sound really bad, but I hate watching people play my game. Like, it makes me really anxious and nervous. I, on
the other hand, really enjoy watching streams of people playing it, because I find it really interesting to see how people do tackle
it's really important as well.
Problems. And for feedback, there's no better way, in my opinion, to find out how people actually engage with your game. And so I've watched quite a lot of stuff. Certainly when we released the demo, I obsessively watched everything, like any stream, any YouTube content. So if you put anything out after we released the demo and before we released the game, chances are I saw that. And thanks, by the way, because that helped make the game way better than it was. So in terms of the most surprising way you've seen people order their plants, I think that by far my favorite one was the person who ordered them. I think it was by smell, was it? Do you remember that one? So he put the nice fragrant ones. He put the fragrant ones next to the customers, so that when they came in,
that was it. I remember that one. Yeah.
A refreshing smell, and the nasty smelling ones he put to one side.
I thought that was really, really sweet. That was good.
And then in terms of things that surprise you watching streams and YouTube content of the game, I'm starting to think of a good specific example.
For me, it's not surprising, but I love how some people like role play as they're playing through the game. That's my favourite. Obviously I've watched some streams and I love it when they sort of like really get into the role as the horticulturist and sort of almost put on a voice, and it's really cool.
It has been awesome watching stuff like that. I do really like as well the people that give Hellebore a stroke on the head just before ringing the bell every time, because then he doesn't get startled by the bell ring. He's too busy enjoying his purrs.
That's awesome, because that's just like something we hadn't planned on, but because of the animation state and that one plays out before the other, I
think it's great.
You can stop that.
Anyway, I've already pulled out the next question, but go. How did you guys come up with all the different plant designs? And is there a concept art we might see one day?
So yeah, plant designs.
That's your
Well,
ballpark.
I mean,
you're the artist.
Yeah, basically, I'd sort of go out, genuinely go out into nature and look at loads of plants, take photos of plants, and sort of borrow bits from plants that actually exist in the real world, and then come home, like just get my sketchbook, like sketch out a few like rough ideas of plants, some like a flower petal or something, like just anything, like just kept drawing little things. And I'm terrible at putting pencil to paper. I'm not very good at it. I much prefer working in a digital medium, but for this it was just really easy just to sketch out a few things, and then from those I'd like then take them into Adobe Animate, which is what I use to do most of my artwork, which is kind of an odd piece of software to draw in, but coming from Flash games, that's what I'm used to working in. And
yeah, I don't think it's that odd, to be honest. Like, I think a lot of people do still use it for that.
I just work so much more efficiently and quicker in that. And then, yeah, just came up with like loads of different plants and loads of ideas, and then would like tidy them up and colour them, and then we put them in the game, and we realised that we'd need to tweak, add more leaves, and tweak and iterate. So the plants almost certainly didn't stay as they were originally, but it was really good fun. And then coming up with names and descriptions, that was just all.
And in terms of
cool
concept
stuff.
art, well, I mean, if we've got some editing to go in here, then we can add some of that stuff, can't we?
Yeah, we can add a bit of like
we can
put in my sketchbook some of those pages and sort of
we'll
the process.
Some of that stuff. We'll find some stuff and put it in.
Some of the early sort of maybe some early artwork from the shop, and like what it sort of started out as, really early days.
Yeah, that was the first thing, wasn't it? We nailed down the look of. Well, no, just the layout. Just the layout
was
of
the
how the
first,
shop was
the
going to
very
work.
first thing, and almost it hasn't changed since the very first mock-up, really.
Well, we did. I think we threw around a few different ideas before that first mock-up, and then we just went with that, and we're quite happy with it. Anyway, let's move on because we don't have infinite amount of time. So, another question. Are any of the plants' descriptions or their uses / properties based on actual IRL plants?
Well, I mean, talking of
yes is the answer.
I mean, so there's this book. It's called Brereton's Complete Herbal. It's based,
which you just happen to have on
which
hand.
I happen to have on hand because I knew someone might bring it up. Which is based on a very famous botanist called Nicholas Culpeper. There is an Easter egg potentially in the game if you found that. That's good. This book has like loads of plants in it, just real plants, and it has like descriptions and everything. This was our Bible. Like, it was so useful for sort of inspiring us, but also for, like coming up with properties and things like you know, like just.
So we did research. So before we got that book, we did kind of look into general plant mythologies and stuff like that, and so we did come up with a few ideas from that, I believe. Like, I remember the one that Clavilium is based on, that was an actual plant that can open any lock or like uncover hidden secrets, which that's a
I mean, just going to any page in this book, like marigold, they strengthen the heart exceedingly and are very expulsive and a little less effectual in the smallpox and measles than saffron. So, you know, medicinal properties, but some of them are more like sort of, sort of weird properties. So, we got a lot of ideas from that book, for sure. Yeah.
Let's move on. Who came up with the idea for the game, and how much research went into it?
Well, we touched on it there, but the idea for the game is actually I think quite a cool story, Rob.
Well, so we'd been thinking about this sort of. Well, we've been thinking about Papers, Please quite a bit, and specifically what was interesting about that and how we might do something different. We'd also been thinking about kind of occulty stuff.
Well, we'd been
witchy
making
stuff.
a sort of like, we'd actually been toying with this Undermere idea for a while, because we'd been sort of toying with a point and click adventure game set in Undermere.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
so we already had our setting Undermere and occult and witchy and like maybe mixing potions and stuff like that. And then
Robert, we'd also we started toying with the idea of a board game, and we put something like that together, and a lot of the ideas from that ended up.
That's true, but that actually that wasn't part of coming up with Strange Horticulture. That was like a happy accident of like we realized, oh, stuff from our board game idea actually really fits with this idea. But then we weren't thinking plants at any point until I was just out walking my dog, and like happened to walk past the notice board, and there was a flyer on it that just had the word horticulture, and it stood out to me, and I just instantly went, ooh, Strange Horticulture, that's a cool name. And I came back and told John about it. Well, I kind of fleshed out the idea a bit more, and then
I think you just came back and said, I've got this idea for a game, and it's called Strange Horticulture.
It wasn't very fleshed out, and
I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. I like that.
And we don't, that doesn't happen very often.
No,
where we both like click instantly, and we're both like, yeah, that's cool. There's something there. So that was, I felt like, if John's on board, then we're on board. And
I'm notoriously hard to please.
Oh, I think we both can be though, and it's.
I think we both have to really like something, or really like an idea to really get behind it. It's important as well that we're both on board with an idea. Otherwise,
for sure.
It just we're not.
You're not invested in it, but some ideas can take a little bit of time to work out the kinks, and I don't know. This one
definitely took a lot of time.
It was the title first, though.
Title first, and then
an unusual,
and then
approach.
Work out the gameplay.
Yes,
and
took a while.
That's actually that's really hard.
Let's go for another question. What's your favourite plant in the game?
Oh, golly.
I feel like we've been asked. I'm sure I've been asked that many times, and probably come out with a different answer each time. But I guess there's different criteria for what your favourite plant is. There's what it does, there's what it looks like, and maybe how it is used in the game as well.
I would say the most factor is is what it does. I mean, like with the powerful properties, like if you've got a plant that allows you to become invisible and sort of not seen, that was pretty cool. But on the criteria of looks wise, I have my favourites that I've drawn. And
tell us which ones.
Oh gosh, I always come back to.
I can't remember the name.
Oh, I know. I always come back to Umbrella for some reason. Like it's the one I use most in, like when I'm putting together artwork and stuff. And I think it's in a lot of the.
Do you have the T-shirt that you made?
Oh yeah,
that's got Umbrella on it.
Yes, it does. It's the one in the middle.
There you go. Yeah. I like all those plants on that T-shirt. That's Lesser Merry Dock, I believe, on the right. It's a nice one. But in terms of the most useful plant, perhaps that's a tough one, isn't it? Something my mind's gone blank on all the different plants. I mean, there are a lot of them.
Well, there are a lot of them, and when you're not like playing it every day, and we've sort of taken a few weeks off from looking at it, it's like I've almost forgotten what all the plants do.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Thinking of ones that are interesting to use in the game, I think Storian. If you know what Storian is used for in the game, that's probably my favourite one.
Yeah, good answer.
Anyway, I'll move to a new question. Who or what inspired the characters of the game?
Well, I mean, in terms of their look or in terms of their descriptions and who they are, like, I think in terms of who they are and the people, I mean, I don't know whether we got any direct inspiration from anywhere. We just sort of.
I've mentioned this before. Verona Green, the occult scholar, I always had in my mind that she was a bit of a Granny Weatherwax character from the Discord series. So he slightly inspired that character. I obviously not to any great degree, but that's sort of who I had in mind.
I mean, some of my sort of inspiration character ideas from when I'm designing them, and that feeds into like descriptions and sort of who they are, is characters from sort of the occult part, like Edgar Allan Poe, because he. Yeah,
I think he's quite a noticeable one. I've certainly seen some YouTubers mention.
Yeah, so there's a character.
This guy looks like Edgar Allan Poe. Well, yeah, he's kind of designed on him.
Yeah, and there's another one that's modelled after H.P. Lovecraft, who obviously there are some sinister goings on in Strange Horticulture, and maybe some eldritch goings on, and that's certainly inspired by Lovecraft. So, yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
Oh, let's go for another one. Ooh. What are your plans now? Will there be a sequel or DLCs or both? I guess we already kind of touched on
that. We touched on that in the previous question, but I guess...
Not the previous one, but I know.
Well, yeah, earlier on in the video. Yeah, we're sort of trying to work that out ourselves right now.
Yes.
So,
we've got something that we're working on, an idea that we're tinkering with, and it is, it is tied to Strange Horticulture, but it's certainly not a direct sequel. I don't really want to say too much more than that. It's just an idea at the moment. Who knows where it goes? It might not go anywhere. That's the thing with ideas. Until you've got something a bit more concrete, it's not really anything. But we quite like it, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
I'll go for another question.
Yeah.
How did you build the world and plan out all the quests without soft locking the player? Interesting.
Very interesting. I mean, that's actually a very good question, because it was very complicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
It basically meant Rob designed his own sort of diagram of how and engine, a tool that basically.
Yeah, I spent a while looking for some software that would help with that. I didn't find any. If you know of any, I'd like to know about it, because it's something that I did struggle with. But yeah, eventually I wrote my own little program that compiled all the data in the game and kind of laid out every day so that you had every visit and the dialogue and what plant they needed. And then it could tell you if you were trying to, like, if you'd put a plant in somewhere that you didn't have yet, or that you couldn't access yet, or if you didn't have the page for it yet and you couldn't access it, it would let you know. So yeah, it was a process of one, just kind of thinking it out, planning it out in our heads, and putting all the plants in. And then it was using that tool that I built to
and then
make sure that there was nothing wrong,
and then
moving stuff around. Oh, it was tough. It was tough. But that was one of the hardest parts of making it, actually.
Yeah, and then playtesting on top of it, like, just to make sure that there were no kinks and problems. But yeah, I mean, you obviously in the game we have something that slows people's progress in terms of this will to explore, so you can't just go to every location on the map, but if you are patient and you want to, you can go to A1, A2, A2, and some of the plants that you get clues to find, you might be able to find just by spamming the map. But we didn't try to sort of block those off, I don't think, too much. Some are, but...
Yeah, some are blocked off, but I didn't want to do it too much. I wanted to let people explore a little bit.
But that's certainly not how the game's designed. The game's designed...
it's not how you're supposed to play it, I suppose. But
every location on the map you're meant to go to is signposted, so...
Or, yeah, there's a clue for it, yeah. I'll move on to a new question. Why did you choose this art style? Anything that inspired you?
I mean, this art style is just sort of what I have come used to. Like, this is what I do.
I wouldn't say that at all. I'd say in previous games that you've done a lot more sort of cartoony stuff.
I suppose, yeah, but I guess it's still vector art, so I still work in vector. I still work with line art, and I still work in flat color. In this, I've added textures and things to sort of create more depth, realism. A bit more realism, but it's still very much the same in art style as vector art, pixel art. I guess like sort of watercolor art, and like I find those are all sort of distinct styles, and I just happen to do vector. But in terms of the art style, like we wanted it to look and feel like you were in a 19th century sort of Victorian era plant shop. We wanted the characters to reflect that, and
I do remember you doing at least some research when we were coming up with how we wanted the characters to look. I remember you kind of found some reference images that you quite liked the style of. I don't remember where those came from, if they were from another game or...
I can't remember the original sort of source of inspiration, but I tend to, when I'm drawing sort of characters, tend to often simplify them and go very cartoony, but this we wanted to create much more realistic characters.
I mean, there's still a sort of cartooniness to them, I suppose.
Cartooniness to them. That's
not
just
hyper realistic. That's for sure.
But that's a style I like personally. I like a sort of comic-y style.
Anyway, I think that answers that. Let's go for another one. Starting to run out, but still got a few. How on earth did you choose which plants to include in the game when there are so many magnificent ones to choose from in real life? How on earth did you choose which plants to include in the game? Well, I guess we've sort of touched on that a little bit, haven't we? In that you said you went out into nature and photographed some, and so we used our plant book that obviously had a bunch of real plants from.
I remember when we first started discussing the game and sort of talking about it, we were thinking, or we thought, could we use real life plants? And certainly, when you come across books like Brereton's Complete Herbal, and it's got real life plants with cool uses, and we thought that we could do that, but I think we wanted to sort of just do something a bit extra with them, make them a bit even more magical and sort of powerful and weird, and also because the key mechanic in the game is identifying plants, we also wanted them to be plants that you wouldn't recognise from the real world, so you'd be seeing them for the first time, because plants are hard to identify. Most people don't know. Probably,
I couldn't name any of the plants behind you, for example.
But some people might, and also
maybe we should make that a new game.
True.
Move your head out of the way. Let's identify those plants behind John.
Yeah, I haven't a clue. But it meant we could be very specific with.
That one on the right looks like Dranthium.
Making plants sort of similar to other plants, and using similar features. That meant that when you were identifying two plants with and you were looking for curly leaves, we could make sure we had a bunch of plants with curly leaves in. And as much as it would have been kind of interesting, I I also feel like for the real life botanists out there, and I'm sure that some of them have played Strange Horticulture, they would take it a bit too seriously, and when we got things slightly wrong or it wasn't quite,
yeah, it wouldn't. I don't think it
didn't look exactly like the plant should have done. Yeah, I think we could have got in trouble. So I think
trouble. Yeah, the plant police would have been onto us.
But yeah, I think choosing to go with our own plants allowed us the freedom to sort of design them how we saw fit, and we got to come up with cool names and cool descriptions, and that was really fun. Like we really enjoyed doing that. So,
but also, yeah, a big part of the tweaking of the gameplay was tweaking what each plant looked like, tweaking the colors and the like what the leaf shape was and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it wouldn't have worked with real plants. Anyway, we'll go for another question. Will future updates include another cat? Hellebore might need company. Oh, I like that.
I mean, Hellebore is pretty independent and he's bossy. Like we always imagine Hellebore as being the true owner of Strange Horticulture, and you're just
very much so. Yeah, I'm not sure he'd want company, to be honest. I don't know. I think he's, as you say, he's quite independent. He rules his roost.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know how he'd get on with another cat in the shop. It would put him off his stride. Anyway, nice question. Did you start creating the game with the storyline in mind, or did it grow organically alongside the game?
It's a good question, and
it is a good question. The answer is quite simple, actually. That no, we did not create the game with the storyline in mind.
Absolutely not. No, the game and the idea and the mechanics and the gameplay all sort of came about, and then we knew we wanted to have a narrative running through it, but actually coming up with that narrative was one of the trickiest and hardest bits of development.
Yeah, it was. We started out more with like characters and the different sort of factions in the game. So we knew that there was this cult. I guess I don't want to give too much away. There might be people watching this who haven't actually played the game yet. But it's not giving too much away to say that there's a group called the Seeds of Redemption, and there's a group called the Sisterhood, who are sort of the guardians of the forest. And so those were ideas that we had quite early on, and the different characters we knew about as well. But then the actual plot itself, and how those characters, because we kind of knew that we wanted these characters to weave together slightly and overlap and have interconnecting stories. But yeah, actually putting that together,
especially in the framework that we'd given ourselves, which was sort of characters come to you needing a plant, and every interaction you have this sort of requirement where you have a piece of conversation and you need a plant, and then we had to come up with this whole storyline, and we had to fit it into that framework, and it was really tricky. It took a long time.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that was tough.
And are we completely happy with it? Like, I think we did. I think we did pretty well. I'm happy with it. I think we could do better, and if we do another one, I want to try harder on it. But I think we did okay. Certainly, some people seem to like it, so I think we did all right. Who came up with the plant names and the cat name? I mean, I think you came up with the cat name.
Which, I didn't really come up with it. More that I realized that it should be something plant-based, so I googled black plants, and I think black hellebore was just about the first one that came out, and I was like, oh yeah, hellebore, that's a cat name. It's pretty regal.
Yeah, definitely, just worked. In terms of the names, I think we both basically just wrote out loads of plant names. I mean, there are resources on the internet where you can sort of go through fantasy plant generators and fantasy name generators, and
I didn't come across fantasy plant generator.
Yeah, you can find stuff like that. I found various bits, cool. and obviously you can take words from your plant book that we had, and
yeah, well, I bet if I just flip through here, like, we'll find where something came from. Well,
from
I mean,
real, and from
straight
real
off the bat, Eyebright, that's an actual real plant, so that's where that one came from. But then...
And just cool words, and probably from real plants as well, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like, there's one there, Penny Royal. There was definitely a Penny Bell plant. Yeah. So yeah, that's something that I did quite a lot, is that I would flick through this book.
Yeah, words like wart. That's quite a good word, like a good sort of suffix. So you can maybe put on, like, just come up with a word, and purple wart or whatever, and then you've got a cool sounding name for a plant. Yeah, honestly, it's really good.
There's another one, yeah, Bishop's Weed.
I love coming up with this
called
stuff.
Bishop's
really
Parasol, and yeah. Anyway, 3 left, I believe. Did you ever expect the game to resonate with so many people? Did you know there were that many cat/plant dads/mums out there waiting for a game like this? It's a really nice question.
That's a really nice question. Thank you. We hoped. No. I guess we hoped so, but we had no idea. It's been amazing. Just reading all the reviews on Steam, seeing the people play it. Honestly, it's overwhelming.
It blew our expectations way out of the water, didn't it?
Yeah,
we never expected this much response to it, and yeah, it has been incredible.
And motivating and uplifting, and generally I would say it's the best thing we've ever done, and we're super proud of it.
I'm so proud of it. Yeah, absolutely, man.
So
yeah,
thank you.
And yeah, in terms of, did we know that there were that many people out there waiting for this game? I guess that's partly why we liked the plant idea, is that it felt right.
We hadn't seen anything sort of purely focused on plants before. We'd sort of the sort of shop idea, like we've seen that in quite a few places, and we've seen crafting, and we've seen potions, and we've seen and things like that, but we hadn't seen specifically about plants, and I don't know whether that's just short-sightedness, and there's plenty out there, but
I'm sure there are games out there, but I know that we tried to research it, didn't we, and we didn't come across
and yet now Strange Horticulture is out, I can't stop seeing sort of witchy plant games everywhere. I've got a list of about 12 that are due out in the next year or two, and
so either we got lucky and rode the crest of the wave, or I don't know,
or just everyone had the same idea at the same time and went, "Oh, plants!"
And yeah, in terms of the cat side of it, that just obviously felt like a natural fit. And got to have a black cat in a witchy plant game, but it wasn't something that we decided on straight away.
No, the plant was a late addition.
The cat.
Sorry, yes. The cat was a late addition. He wasn't in the game to begin with. And it wasn't until we were discussing plot points. I mentioned the idea of, well, can't we give the proprietor a cat, and who lives in the shop? And we both just were like, yeah, I mean, why haven't we thought of this before?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, penultimate question. Were there any features you wanted to implement that never made it into the game?
Yes.
Yes. That's a cool question, yeah. Let me have a think about that. You sound like you've got something.
Well, I mean, the number of ideas you discuss when you're developing a game, and that sort of either you can't fit into it, or you just as you're discussing it, you realise it's problematic, and you sort of drop, and you wish you maybe tried harder. We have choices in this game, and we really liked what we did with the choices, but at the same time, when we were originally making it, we wanted choices to feature more, and we wanted there to be more like sort of freedom of choice. So
yeah, and that's something that people have mentioned,
and you could kind of almost give them whatever plant you wanted and sort of like almost tell your own story through that. But when you think that that's a really cool idea and it sounds really cool, but when you start like discussing it and talking about it and trying to work out how that works, and it actually unravels, and you realize that it's actually not that as interesting as it sounds, because there's just, or it's the scope of it just gets out of hand and it's impossible to actually make. So
that was one thing, but we definitely had a few. I'm remembering now, in those kind of early days of throwing ideas around, we were talking about like we liked the idea of having a time loop, maybe, where you could, and that would have allowed for much more kind of freedom of choice, where you could come back to the start of the day and do things with new knowledge. And I think there's something interesting in that idea, but for whatever reason it didn't make it in. But then in terms of like actual ideas, like later on in development, did we have any ideas there that we wanted to put in and didn't put in? I'm not sure that we did, to be honest. I think that if we liked an idea enough, it went in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't really think of anything that we decided. Elixirs were something that were sort of on our ideas shelf for quite a while, and we weren't sure if we were going to have time to implement those, or if it was something that we definitely wanted to do. And then so that they were quite a late addition, I'd say, but definitely a really good one.
I mean, and then there were a lot of like not necessarily big ideas where you would notice them, but through feedback and various things, that like a lot of like little touches got added during development, that simple things like a watering can, that wasn't originally in the game. It's something that we thought we could add it, but we didn't know how best to add it, and eventually we realised, well, you can just have it as a little toy, and if you connect it to the will to explore, so you can recharge it, that's actually quite a cool like way of getting that to go back up so you can explore again, and that just sort of fits like that. And then through feedback we got loads of little things like that we've added in. So anyway,
right, should we move on to the very last question?
Wow,
there it is. A good one.
Hit me.
Why did you decide to go for an alternate universe Lake District? Oh, here's a good one. I like this. As opposed to a one-to-one replica or an entirely original map?
That's a good question. Well, I guess it almost stems from the fact that we'd been working on this idea of a alternate version of the Lake District for this point-and-click game that I mentioned earlier, and we turned Windermere into Undermere. And I thought that was a really cool place to set a game like Undermere. It sounds like sinister and weird and creepy. And I mean, the Lake District thing came from the fact that we used to go on holidays to the Lake District as kids, and it just, it's just somewhere that has nostalgic appeal to us. It's one of the most beautiful places in the UK, and we always felt
we love going there, and we've been back several times over the years as well.
Yeah, we loved going walking in the fells, and it's a very magical place, so it just really fit with our theme.
It's a cool place to fit.
It just feels like there's lots of lore there, and
witchy stuff.
So
stuff.
It wasn't hard to imagine that Strange Horticulture could exist in a place like the Lake District. In terms of why not just use the Lake District? Well, just basically because we like this idea of Undermere. Everything else, actually, in terms of the place names, is an actual place in the Lake District.
Yeah.
It's only Undermere that's different. So
is that right?
I think so.
One changed. Yeah. But yeah. So why did we do that? I mean, I think partly because it tells you straight off the bat that it. Well, I mean, obviously, most people aren't going to recognise that it's the Lake District, but I think just the name Undermere kind of hints at it being a little bit sinister. It tells you that you're not quite in the real world, because nothing about our game is the real world, right? Like, yes, you get plants and
but it's very close to the real world. It's just
exactly right. But it's adjacent. It's in this sort of alternate reality.
Yeah. So we wanted to sort of have a real world feel, just slightly like shifted. So that's that. Right. Well, those were some great questions. So just want to appreciate everyone who sent us a question. I hope we've
thank you so much.
Answered them as well as we can. And thank you so much to anyone who has played Strange Horticulture. If you haven't, we encourage you to do so. And
everyone likes it.
Yeah,
well, not everyone, but a lot of people do.
Honestly, we are blown away by the response, and just incredibly grateful for all the feedback and all the reviews that people have given us.
And some cool fan art. That,
a bit of fan art.
People have done. That's awesome.
And so thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, everyone.
I guess we will say goodbye.
Bye.